Ethan had always been drawn to places most people forgot, or feared, places where stories lingered like shadows waiting to be uncovered. He was not a man to follow the beaten path. Instead, he sought the hidden, the lost, the forgotten. His restless spirit pushed him further and deeper into unknown territories that whispered of mystery and ancient secrecy. This particular morning, the forest was thick with mist, the kind of mist that made the world feel like it was holding its breath. Ethan could barely see beyond a few steps ahead. The trees were tall and twisted, their branches reaching like gnarled hands into the pale sky. The ground beneath his boots was soft with moss and damp leaves. He moved slowly, careful not to disturb the silence that wrapped around the forest like a cloak. The air was cool but carried a strange scent, something earthy, yet unfamiliar, something that tugged at the edges of his memory, as if this place had been waiting for him. His heart beat a little faster as he followed a narrow winding path, barely visible beneath the undergrowth. Every step felt heavier, and yet more thrilling. Through the fog, a shape began to emerge. A great stone archway stood in a clearing, almost swallowed by the forest but still defiant against the encroaching wild. The archway was enormous, towering above Ethan like a gate to another world. It was covered in thick vines and moss, but the carvings etched into the stone beneath were clear even through the layers of time, strange symbols glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Ethan stopped and ran his hand along the cool surface of the stone. His fingers traced the delicate patterns, curious and hesitant. The gate felt alive, almost breathing beneath his touch. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what he would do next. 1,000 questions raced through his mind. Who built this gate? Why was it here? And more importantly, why had it been left untouched for so long? The air around him seemed to hum with energy, like the beginning of something ancient and powerful awakening from a long sleep without warning. Ethan smiled a little and reached out further, pressing his palm flat against the cold, rough stone. He did not know why he did it or what he expected, but it felt like the right thing to do. A sudden shiver ran up his arm as a strange warmth spread beneath his hand. The glow from the carvings brightened, and the mist around the gate began to swirl. As if stirred by an invisible wind, the forest grew unnaturally still. Ethan held his breath, his eyes wide with a mixture of awe and something deeper, a thrill of discovery. The gate was not just stone, it was a doorway, a threshold to something beyond the ordinary, and he had just crossed the first line of a journey he could not yet understand. As he pulled his hand away, Ethan felt the weight of the moment settle over him. The sealed gate was no longer just a forgotten relic, it was a challenge, a call and a promise, and deep inside him he knew his life was about to change forever. The moment Ethan pulled his hand away from the glowing gate, a deep rumble shook the ground beneath his feet. It started as a low vibration that slowly grew stronger, as something huge was stirring from a long-forgotten slumber. The air around him seemed charged alive with a strange electric tension. The forest, which moments ago had been quiet and still, now hummed with unseen energy. Ethan stepped back, his eyes fixed on the massive gate that now pulsed with a brighter light. The intricate carvings that once glowed faintly now blazed like fire, illuminating the clearing with an eerie blue light. The vines that had clung to the stone walls began to writhe and twist as though the gate itself was breathing, waking from a sleep that had lasted for centuries. The mist thickened around the edges of the clearing, curling and swirling like living smoke. It moved with a purpose, almost guiding Ethan forward, as if the forest was alive and watching carefully what he did next. His heart pounded loudly in his chest, and a mixture of fear and excitement surged through him like a wild storm. From the shadows beyond the gate, a figure slowly began to emerge. Its shape was massive and towering, but its details were hidden beneath a cloak of darkness. Yet Ethan could see faint flickers of light reflecting off something metallic, something ancient and powerful. The ground shook again, and leaves fell like rain. As the figure took its first deliberate step forward, Ethan froze, unsure if he should run or stand his ground. The stories he had heard as a child about guardians and ancient protectors flooded his mind, but this was no myth. This was real, and it was right in front of him. The figure moved with a slow, heavy grace, each step echoing in the stillness like the heartbeat of the earth itself. The glowing carvings on the gate formed patterns that danced and shifted as if reacting to the awakening sentinel. The air grew colder, and the light from the gate cast long shadows stretching out like fingers reaching toward Ethan. The forest seemed to hold its breath once more, caught in the suspense of the moment. As the figure stepped fully into the clearing, Ethan could see it was an ancient sentinel, a guardian created long ago to protect the secrets hidden beyond the sealed gate. Its armor was cracked and weathered, covered in runes and symbols that glowed with the same eerie light as the gate. Its eyes shone like twin stars piercing through the mist and darkness. Ethan's breath caught in his throat, the sentinel's gaze locked onto him, as if it was searching his soul, its presence both terrifying and awe-inspiring. A voice rumbled out of the figure, deep and resonant, shaking the very air around them. It spoke in a language that felt older than time itself, yet somehow Ethan understood every word. "You have awakened me, mortal," warned the sentinel with a voice like thunder. "Some doors once opened can never be closed again. Your actions will change the course of fate forever." Ethan swallowed hard, his mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. Fear, doubt, curiosity, and a strange sense of destiny all collided inside him. He wanted to run, but something deeper held him there, something that told him this moment was just the beginning of a journey, far beyond anything he had ever imagined. The sentinel stepped closer, the glowing runes on its armor casting strange shadows on the forest floor. Ethan could feel the weight of ancient power pressing down on him. Like a storm about to break, he knew that from this moment forward nothing would ever be the same. Ethan stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest as the ancient sentinel towered before him, its glowing eyes never leaving his own. The clearing around them seemed to shrink, the forest holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The air was thick with tension, and the weight of something far older than time itself. The sentinel spoke again, its voice low and reverberating through the trees. "You have touched the sealed gate on a whim, but the consequences reach far beyond what you can see. Many have come before you, tempted by curiosity, but few have faced what lies beyond, and even fewer have returned." Ethan swallowed hard, his mind racing with questions, but the words felt heavy, as if each one carried a burden meant only for those brave enough to bear it. The sentinel moved with a slow, deliberate grace, and extended a massive hand, its fingers like ancient pillars, glowing runes, shimmering across its weathered armor. With a voice softer but no less powerful, the sentinel said, "You have awoken me, but the path forward is uncertain. There are secrets hidden in the shadows that even I cannot unveil. Yet your presence here marks the beginning of a new chapter. A choice lies before you, to turn back to the safety of the world you know, or step forward into the unknown and embrace what lies beyond the gate." Ethan looked down at his hands, trembling slightly. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, but so did a growing fire deep inside his chest, a hunger for discovery and understanding. His playful whim had become a turning point, and he felt as if the world itself was waiting for his answer. Around them, the forest seemed to shift. The mist curled like fingers weaving through the trees, and the glowing carvings on the gate pulsed in rhythm with the sentinel's gaze. A faint breeze whispered secrets through the leaves, carrying the distant echoes of forgotten voices and ancient tales. Ethan took a deep breath and lifted his eyes back to the sentinel. The enormous figure waited patiently, its glowing eyes filled with something like expectation and perhaps even hope. This was no longer just a test or a challenge, but a moment of connection between past and present, guardian and seeker. The young explorer nodded, slowly, his voice steady as he spoke. "I will not turn away. I want to know the secrets hidden beyond this gate. I want to understand what you were created to protect." A subtle glow radiated from the sentinel, as if it recognized the sincerity in Ethan's words. The air around them shimmered with a new energy, and the carvings on the gate began to shift, forming patterns that told stories of ancient wars, lost kingdoms, and forgotten wisdom. The sentinel stepped aside, revealing a narrow passageway carved into the earth beyond the gate. Its eyes met Ethan's once more. Before it spoke, "You must be ready for the trials ahead. Many dangers lie in wait, but also great rewards for those who prove worthy." Ethan squared his shoulders and stepped forward, the mist swirling at his feet as he crossed the threshold, leaving the world he knew behind. The sealed gate slowly began to close behind him, but the glow from the carvings remained, lighting his path into the darkness. The journey had begun, and Ethan was no longer just a curious wanderer, but a chosen seeker bound to unravel the mysteries of the ancient sentinel and the secrets hidden for centuries beyond the sealed gate. Ethan stepped through the narrow passageway beyond the sealed gate, leaving behind the fading glow of the ancient carvings, and stepping into a world shrouded in shadows. The air was cool and heavy with the scent of earth, and something older, something alive lurking just beyond the edge of sight. The walls around him were carved from stone, rough and uneven, as if shaped by hands long gone but still echoing their purpose. The path twisted and turned, winding deeper into the earth like a serpent moving slowly through forgotten tunnels. Ethan's footsteps echoed softly in the silence, broken only by the distant drip of water somewhere far ahead. his senses sharpened, alert to every sound, every shift in the air, as if the very walls were watching him, testing his resolve. Faint glimmers of light flickered ahead, like distant stars guiding him forward, but the darkness remained thick and heavy, a constant reminder that he had crossed into a realm far from the safety of the surface. The carvings on the gate had promised trials, and Ethan could feel the weight of unseen eyes following him through the shadows. As he moved deeper, the air grew colder, and a strange vibration hummed beneath his feet, a low, steady pulse, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. It was a rhythm that seemed to resonate with something inside Ethan, stirring a deep sense of connection and purpose. His breath came steady despite the growing tension as he pressed forward, eager to face whatever lay ahead. Suddenly, the narrow tunnel opened into a vast cavern, a cathedral of stone, illuminated by glowing crystals embedded in the walls, casting shimmering patterns of light that danced like spirits in the darkness. The space was immense. Ancient pillars rose like trees to support the high ceiling, their surfaces etched with symbols similar to those on the gate. In the center of the cavern stood an altar carved from a single block of obsidian, its surface smooth and cold. The air around it thrummed with power, as if the altar itself was a key to unlocking the mysteries. Ethan sought the glowing runes from the gate, seemed to pulse in response, and Ethan felt drawn toward it as if by an invisible force. But before he could approach, a shadow flickered at the edge of the cavern, a figure emerging from the darkness, tall and cloaked in flowing robes. Its face was hidden beneath a deep hood, but Ethan could feel the intensity of its gaze piercing through the gloom. The figure spoke in a voice both calm and commanding. "You have entered a place of great power and danger, stranger. The trials before you will test not just your courage, but the very essence of your soul." Ethan squared his shoulders and met the unseen eyes beneath the hood. "I am ready. Whatever comes, I will face it." The figure nodded slowly, raising a hand to reveal a delicate pendant glowing softly with the same eerie light that marked the gate and sentinel. "This pendant will guide you through the trials, but beware, not all is as it seems. The path ahead will challenge your trust, your strength, and your heart." With those words, the figure melted back into the shadows, leaving Ethan alone in the vast cavern, yet somehow not alone. For the first time since touching the gate, he felt the full weight of his decision, and the gravity of the journey before him. The glowing crystals pulsed, gently lighting the way, as Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward toward the obsidian altar, ready to unlock the secrets that lay hidden in the darkness beyond the sealed gate. Ethan stood before the obsidian altar, its smooth surface cold beneath his fingertips. The glowing pendant around his neck pulsed softly like a heartbeat, guiding him deeper into the cavern. The air was thick with ancient power and mystery, every breath he took filled with a mix of anticipation and unease. He remembered the words of the cloaked figure, the warning that the trials would test not just courage but the very essence of his soul. Ethan closed his eyes and focused on the pendant, letting its gentle light fill his mind and calm the storm of doubt swirling inside him. Suddenly, the altar began to hum, a deep, resonant tone vibrating through the cavern walls. The glowing runes carved into the stone around him shifted and rearranged, themselves forming patterns and symbols he had never seen before, but somehow understood. Their meaning was clear. A challenge had been set, a trial he must face if he hoped to proceed. As the light from the pendant grew stronger, the cavern began to change. The walls seemed to ripple like water, and the floor beneath Ethan's feet shifted, transforming into a vast labyrinth of stone corridors, twisting endlessly into darkness. The altar dissolved into mist, and the pendant's glow brightened, lighting the path ahead. Ethan stepped forward into the labyrinth, his senses heightened, every sound amplified in the eerie silence. The walls were lined with ancient carvings that seemed to tell stories of those who had come before, warnings of dangers and glimpses of the trials to come. The air was heavy with the weight of forgotten memories and unspoken fears. As he moved deeper into the maze, the pendant's light flickered and dimmed, leaving Ethan momentarily in darkness. His heart raced, but he remembered the pendant's pulse, steady and strong, guiding him like a lifeline through the shadows. He pressed on, trusting the ancient artifact and his own resolves. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the corridors, soft and melodic, but carrying an unsettling edge. "You who seek the truth, are you prepared to face yourself?" Apheth froze. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was a question and a challenge wrapped in mystery and warning. He took a deep breath and called out, "I am ready. Whatever comes, I will not turn back." The labyrinth shifted again, walls sliding open, revealing a chamber bathed in pale light. At its center stood a mirror framed in ancient silver, its surface shimmering like liquid glass. Ethan approached, cautiously, his reflection distorted and flickering, as if revealing more than just his image. The voice returned softer this time. Look deeply, seeker, and face the truths hidden within. Ethan stared into the mirror, and suddenly memories flashed before him, moments from his past, fears, doubts, mistakes, and regrets, all laid bare. The reflection twisted, showing not just who he was, but who he feared becoming. The trial was clear. He must confront himself to move forward. Swallowing his fear, Ethan reached out, touching the mirror. The surface rippled and pulled him in like a silent invitation or a trap. He closed his eyes and stepped through, ready to face whatever awaited on the other side, knowing this was only the beginning of a journey that would change him forever. Ethan felt a strange sensation as he stepped through the shimmering surface of the mirror. It was as if the world around him dissolved into mist, and light swirling colors and shifting shapes blurred and merged into one another until finally he found himself standing in a place both familiar and strange. The air was thick with silence, yet filled with echoes of his own thoughts and memories. The ground beneath his feet was soft like moss, but glowing faintly with an ethereal light. Around him stretched a landscape that seemed to change with every blink, trees shifting their branches, rivers flowing backward, and skies painted with colors he had never seen before. Ethan's reflection no longer appeared in the mirror world, but he could see himself clearly in the faces that emerged from the shifting shadows. Some were his own younger selves. Moments of joy, pain, confusion, and fear playing out like silent films. He realized this was a place inside his mind, a realm created by the trial to confront the essence of who he was. As he walked, the landscape changed, responding to his thoughts and emotions. The path ahead was never fixed but shaped by his will and fears. The trees whispered secrets and warnings, the rivers sang songs of hope and loss, and the sky above shifted from brilliant light to endless night, reflecting the turmoil within him. Suddenly a figure appeared ahead, cloaked in darkness but with eyes that shone like stars. It was neither friend nor foe, but a reflection of his own doubts and fears. The figure spoke without moving its lips, challenging Ethan to face the parts of himself he had long hidden away. You have come far, seeker, but do you have the strength to embrace your shadows, to accept the parts of yourself you deny? Ethan felt the weight of the question crushing yet freeing. At that moment he knew the trial was not about defeating a foe, but accepting himself with all his flaws and fears. He took a deep breath and nodded silently, signaling his readiness to face whatever truths lay hidden. The shadowy figure smiled faintly and reached out its hand. Ethan hesitated but then grasped it, feeling a surge of energy coursing through him. The landscape around him brightened and the shadows lifted, revealing a clearer path forward. With newfound resolve, Ethan continued through the shifting realm, confronting memories and emotions long buried. He faced moments of failure and regret, but also of courage and love. Each step made him stronger, more certain that he was ready to meet whatever awaited beyond the trial. As the mirror realm began to fade, Ethan found himself back in the cavern, standing before the labyrinth once more. The pendant around his neck glowed warmly, and the path ahead was lit with a gentle light. The Ancient Sentinel's voice echoed softly through the cavern. You have faced yourself and proven your strength. The journey continues, but remember, true power comes from within. Ethan nodded, his heart steady, filled with determination and hope. The trials were far from over, but he had taken the first step into a destiny entwined with the ancient secrets of the sealed gate. Ethan emerged from the mirror realm, his senses sharpened and his spirit tempered by the trial. Within, the cavern around him seemed quieter, somehow, as if the very stones acknowledged his growth. The soft glow from the pendant pulsed, gently lighting the way deeper into the labyrinth that awaited beyond. The path ahead was narrow, winding through tight corridors carved from ancient stone, worn smooth by time and countless footsteps. Ethan moved carefully, alert to every sound and shadow, aware that danger could lurk in the silence. The air was thick with an ancient presence, a watchful energy that seemed to observe and judge his every move. Suddenly, a faint whisper brushed against his ears like a breeze through dry leaves. The voice was distant, yet unmistakably human. Faint cries of warning carried from the depths of the labyrinth. The whispers grew louder, forming fragmented words of caution and challenge, urging Ethan to remain vigilant. As he pressed forward, the labyrinth shifted, again, walls closing in, then expanding like a living maze designed to confuse and test. The glowing pendant flickered, casting fleeting shadows that danced at the edge of his vision. The carvings on the walls changed from symbols to scenes, depicting battles lost and won, heroes betrayed, and sacrifices made. These stories felt personal, as if echoing a forgotten history tied to the Ancient Sentinel, and the Gaethon's heart quickened when the corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with statues, towering figures carved from black stone, each one unique and lifelike. Their eyes seemed to follow him as he moved, a silent audience to his journey. The chamber was heavy with solemnity, a place of remembrance and judgment. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, holding an ancient tome bound in cracked leather, and sealed with a heavy clasp adorned with runes. The pendant around Ethan's neck pulsed stronger, as if urging him forward. His fingers brushed the cover, hesitating for a moment before breaking the seal and opening the book. The pages were filled with writing, in a language old and strange, but somehow the meaning flowed directly into his mind. Stories of the Sentinel's origins and the civilization that had created it, a tale of glory and hubris, a warning of power misused and the price of forgotten wisdom. Suddenly, a chill swept through the chamber, and the statues seemed to shift, moving closer until they surrounded Ethan. The air grew heavy with unseen eyes and silent judgment. The voice of the Sentinel echoed once more. You have learned much, but true understanding comes from action, not knowledge alone. The trials will continue to test your resolve and your heart. Ethan closed the tome, feeling the weight of responsibilities settle deeper in his soul. He understood now that this journey was not just about unlocking secrets, but about proving himself worthy of the power and knowledge he sought. The path ahead was uncertain and fraught with peril, but he was no longer the man who touched the gate on a whim. With steady breath and unwavering determination, Ethan moved past the statues and deeper into the labyrinth. The glow of the pendant lighting his way as the Ancient Sentinel's challenge echoed in his mind, reminding him that every step was a choice, every decision a test of his true character. Ethan pushed forward through the labyrinth, the air growing colder and heavier, as if the very walls were closing in around him. Every step echoed through the stone corridors, his breath steady, but heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and caution. The pendant around his neck glowed faintly, casting a soft light on the twisting path ahead. The labyrinth seemed endless, each turn leading to new challenges, ancient traps and puzzles designed to test every skill and ounce of courage Ethan possessed. The walls whispered secrets in a language long lost. The glow from the pendant pulsed stronger with each trial, urging him onward as if guiding a chosen one toward an inevitable destiny. Suddenly the corridor opened into a vast chamber filled with swirling mist. The air was thick with the scent of earth and something metallic, something old and powerful. The mist moved like living shadows, twisting and curling in shapes that seemed almost alive. Ethan's eyes narrowed, trying to pierce the veil of fog, but the chamber held its secrets tightly. From the depths of the mist, a figure emerged, tall and imposing, clad in armor etched with runes similar to those on the gate and sentinel. The figure's eyes glowed with an intense light, and its voice resonated through the chamber, challenging Ethan with words that echoed like thunder. You have come far, seeker, but the final trial is upon you. To proceed, you must prove that your heart is pure, that your resolve is unbreakable, and that your spirit is worthy of the ancient power you seek. Ethan stood firm, his voice clear and unwavering. I will face whatever comes. My heart is true and my resolve is strong. I seek only to protect and understand the secrets of the gate. The armored figure nodded slowly, its eyes piercing through Ethan as if weighing the very essence of his soul. Suddenly, the mist around them began to swirl, violently forming a vortex of light and shadow. The chamber trembled and the walls seemed to fade as the trial began in earnest. Ethan was engulfed in the swirling mist, transported to a realm where reality bent and twisted around him. He faced visions of his deepest fears and greatest doubts. Shadows of failure, regret, loneliness, and loss assailed him, each one a test of his spirit and determination. But through it all, Ethan held firm, drawing strength from the lessons learned and the promise made to the Ancient Sentinel. The visions shifted, revealing moments of hope, courage, and love, memories that rekindled his fire and reminded him why he had embarked on this journey. The mist finally cleared and Ethan found himself standing once again in the chamber, the armored figure before him, now smiling, a faint glimmer of approval in its glowing eyes. You have passed the final trial, seeker. The power you seek is now within your grasp. But remember, true strength lies not in power alone but in the wisdom to use it well. As The figure vanished, the mist dissipated, revealing a pedestal with a radiant orb glowing with an inner light. The pendant pulsed wildly as Ethan reached out and grasped the orb, feeling a surge of energy coursing through him. The ancient secrets of the sealed gate were now a part of him, and his journey was far from over. Ethan held the radiant orb tightly, feeling the ancient energy pulse through his veins. The light filled the chamber, bathing everything in a warm glow. As the power of the sealed gate flowed into him, a connection forged across time and space. The labyrinth around him seemed to breathe alive, responding to the presence of one chosen to carry its legacy. The orb's light revealed new carvings on the walls. Stories of guardians past, sacrifices made, and the enduring battle between light and shadow. Ethan understood now that he was not just a seeker but a protector, entrusted with a responsibility greater than himself. A guardian in the making, bound to the Ancient Sentinel and the secrets it had guarded for centuries. As he turned to leave the cavern, the pendant's glow softened and the path ahead was illuminated by a gentle, steady light guiding him back through the labyrinth. The journey that began as a whim had transformed into a mission that would define his life and perhaps change the fate of many. Outside the sealed gate, the forest seemed unchanged, but Ethan knew everything was different. The Ancient Sentinel had returned to its watchful vigil, its eyes glowing faintly in the twilight, a silent guardian once more. The gate remained closed, but the power now within Ethan meant it was no longer just a barrier, but a threshold to a world of endless possibilities. Fen took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the orb in his hand and the promise it held. The lessons learned, the trials faced, and the strength found within were his to carry forward. A new chapter awaited, one filled with challenges, discoveries, and the constant struggle between darkness and light. He looked up at the sky, stars twinkling faintly, like the glowing runes on the gate and pendant. The journey was far from over, but Ethan was ready. He had faced the Ancient Sentinel and emerged, transformed, stronger, wiser, and bound to a destiny that would test every fiber of his being. With a steady step, Ethan turned away from the gate, the forest embracing him like an old friend. The world was vast and full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. He was no longer the man who had touched the sealed gate on a whim, but a guardian chosen to protect its secrets and wield the power it bestowed. The Ancient Sentinel's words echoed in his mind, a reminder and a promise. You have awakened the ancient power, but with it comes great responsibility. The path you walk now will be difficult, but you will never walk alone. Ethan smiled, a quiet determination burning in his eyes. The sealed gate was no longer just a mystery, but a part of him, a living legacy woven into his very soul. And as he stepped forward into the unknown, he carried with him the light of the Ancient Sentinel and the courage to face whatever lay ahead.